So finally, we get our hands on the ATR 72. I know this aircraft has been highly anticipated by many people, including myself, because we do have a lack of regional airliners in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this was marketed as an expert level plane, but we don't really know what expert means. And this review is going to kind of dive into a bit of what I think of the systems, the modelling, the sound, and is it worth the money? Well, the ATR 72 is a very popular twin-engine turbo short-haul regional airliner which was developed and produced by ATR in France and in Italy, and it's definitely an exciting addition to the world of flight simulation. This add-on was created by Hans Hartmann, and for people who don't know, he is quite an experienced developer, and he's previously worked on many titles including the Aerosoft CRJ and the Twin Otter. He's also worked on a few ATR 72s in the past. So Hans Hartmann is known not to make study sim level aircraft but more advanced aircraft, so my expectations for this aircraft was that it's not a study sim level, but it is more and more advanced than the default aircraft. So the ATR 72 is available right now for $19.99 with a 30% discount for Deluxe and Premium owners, which is a very good price for what we're getting. So visually, the ATR 72 in my opinion offers a very high quality exterior 3D model. It features accurate proportions, intricate details that bring the aircraft to life. The level of detail is commendable and the exterior textures and materials are consistent with the real world counterpart from what I could see. However, the cockpit does leave some room for improvement. While the overall layout and design are generally quite good, certain colours and textures appear a bit off to me in comparison to the real aircraft. To a lot of people this isn't going to be a big problem, but to those which want a very accurate ATR, this is where the problems start to show up. So despite this, the custom avionics honestly are pretty impressive for this price range. They offer quite a high detail level of functionality, and there's click spots that you can press to kind of change stuff on the screens, which I think is a very cool idea. It can be a bit finicky sometimes to know where those click spots are, and I think in time that will improve. This aircraft also does feature synthetic vision, and it features quite a lot of advanced airport maps and various stuff like that, which is quite nice to see. So to be honest, the avionics are quite impressive for this price range considering it is only a $20 aircraft. I did find a few minor visual bugs, but nothing which was game breaking or really concerning. But again, if you want to simulate the best ATR you can, this probably isn't the add-on for you, but still, it's pretty impressive honestly. In terms of the systems, the ATR 72 was marketed as an expert level aircraft, as I mentioned, and it wasn't ever really marketed as a study sim level, but there was some hints that perhaps it could be. So I know a lot of people are disappointed, but I just want to point out this really isn't a study sim level aircraft right now, and I don't think that was the idea of it honestly. So this offers a lot more system depth than a default aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it's not accurate enough with a lot of the stuff to be considered study sim. There has been some ATR pilots pointing out inconsistencies on the forums and on Reddit. The aircraft doesn't act like the real aircraft in certain situations, but this said, you can follow the FCOM procedures and the aircraft will work using those procedures. So it does have some depth, but it's not study level in my opinion. There is a fully custom FMS, and in my opinion it's pretty good. It allows for altitude constraints, weight and fuel management, and it has an advisory VNAV system. The advisory VNAV system, it's a shame that we don't have a full custom VNAV considering the real ATR has one and it's used quite frequently, and unfortunately the VNAV system is a bit buggy in my opinion. A lot of time I found issues where it couldn't calculate the correct descent or ascent rate and it would just bug out, but still I'm sure with some patches this can be improved. There is a few bugs with the FMS right now, which are kind of a little bit game breaking for some people. When entering a flight plan, the whole system can just freeze, which isn't ideal, but this is something that Asobo are aware of, and it will be fixed apparently in the near future, so fingers crossed. The engine modelling, well, depending on who you ask, but I think it's okay. It's not realistic to the actual ATR, and a lot of people have pointed this out on real pilots, that the temperatures are kind of wrong, they can be too low, and the engines don't react exactly to real life. But these discrepancies, in my opinion, for what we're getting is actually quite minor, and the aircraft does fly quite well, though again it's not perfectly accurate. The autopilot, in my opinion, works for the most part. It offers a range of functions and modes to assist in managing the aircraft's flight. This includes stuff that we would expect, like the IAS mode, which allows for climbing. It supports vertical speed, and it does have an advisory VNAV system, which in my opinion works a lot of the time, but it can be a little bit buggy, so hopefully that gets patched out. Again, like I say, it's disappointing that we don't have a proper VNAV, but again, this isn't a study sim level, so if we evaluate on that, it's not too bad. So the flight model to me feels satisfactory. It provides a sense of weight and balance mostly in line with the real world aircraft, though I've never flown an ATR, so I can't say, and a lot of the ATR pilots have commented it feels a bit too light and tends to kind of not slow down as much as it probably should. So there are some discrepancies, but generally the aircraft feels quite easy to fly, and it's quite a good quality flight model in my opinion, in comparison to even a lot of the premium add-ons which go for much more than this. So again, I don't think it's an accurate flight model, but it's still quite a nice flight model. It's not a terrible flight model at all. Generally speaking, the system depth is pretty adequate, to be honest. It has electrical systems, and there's definitely some procedures you can follow in this aircraft that you could in real life, so that is quite nice, and there's quite a bit of fidelity inside the aircraft. Unfortunately, the weather radar just simply doesn't work, and I'm not really sure we can blame Hans Hartmann for this, because I think it's a base game issue that Asobo need to address. And in the meantime, pilots are going to have to rely on looking out of the weather and try and avoid those clouds. Lastly, the sounds are okay. They're not bad, but they do seem suspiciously a bit close to the sounds of the King Air. I'm not sure they are the sounds of the King Air, but they're pretty close, and I think a few more custom sounds would be nice, though we are talking at a very cheap price level here, so perhaps they didn't get a chance to actually record a lot of the real world sounds. But generally, if they could do that, that would improve the experience quite a lot. So to be honest, this aircraft, would I buy it? It depends. If you want a fully study sim level version of the ATR, this aircraft is probably not for you, honestly. But if you don't mind that it's not fully study sim, it's good, to be honest, and I will be flying this aircraft. Like I say, all the systems are not accurate to the ATR exactly, but they're good enough, and I'd say they get there like 80% of the way. And honestly, it's fine. It flies fine. The autopilot, in my opinion, works, and like I said, there's a few bugs, but there's not loads of bugs. I never really had a massive issue like I did with the Aerosoft CRJ when it came out with the autopilot. So generally it seems pretty good to me. There's certainly room for improvement, and I really hope that this aircraft does get improved. The overall accuracy compared to its real life counterpart could definitely be improved, and I think if some more time was spent on the aircraft, it probably could get up to study sim level, which is impressive. So where I would mark this is somewhere between the kind of default aircraft and study sim, and I'd say it's closer to the study sim level than the default aircraft. I think it's more accurate than the Aerosoft CRJ, but it's definitely not study sim, and I really hope that Microsoft and Hans continue working on this, because I think with some updates it could get pretty close. I'm not sure if it's ever going to be study sim level, but I think it could get pretty close. and we have to consider this is a $20 aircraft. It's literally 4 or 5 times cheaper than a study sim aircraft, and for that I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this aircraft if you are okay with it not being a study sim. So if you don't care about study sim, it's definitely worth a buy. It's a really good aircraft, and I think with updates it's only going to get better. I do hope we are going to get some good updates to this aircraft, because in the past, like I say, with the CRJ and the Twin Otter, there wasn't really any updates, so bear that in mind. But I think with Microsoft and Asobo publishing it, I think there will be updates, and we already know there is a patch coming out to fix a lot of the issues. So I think it's got a good future, honestly, and as long as, like I say, if you want a study sim version of the ATR, this is never going to be it for you, and you might as well just not buy it, because it's never going to be a study sim level at the moment. But if you don't mind about that and you just want an ATR to do regional flights, I think this is a good option, and I think at the moment it's probably good enough to fly on the networks like VATSIM. It can do a lot of the stuff that controllers would ask you. It can do holds as well, though they are a bit buggy right now, and like I say, the autopilot tends to work, so I think it's a good aircraft for the price, and I don't really see a reason not to pick this up unless you really wanted something more from it. But for the price range, I think for value for money, this is probably the best value for money on the store right now. So my recommendation would be, sure, pick this up. It's a good aircraft. It has some problems and it's not study sim level, but if you set your expectations lower on the study sim side, it's a good aircraft and it's fun to fly, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, that's my review.